How's it going, everybody? So today I'm going to be talking about the new, actually debut full-length album from the band Etwas. Etwas. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. Etwas. Etwas. The name of the album is Enochian Keys, Chapter 1. And y'all know it. Before I get into that nitty-gritty, let's check out the cover. So boom, there it is. Take a look at that. That's a pretty dark looking cover. I tell you what. You got this demon looking dude chilling there in what looks like a cathedral, and there's he's kind of like ghostly, almost like he's an apparition or something, and there's these two little angels that looks like kind of on either side looking at him. I don't know. Yeah, the whole scene just looks dark, like with the use of like the dark colors, the grays, the black and white, and all of that. But it looks like there's some sort of light there, like in the center. I don't know if it's behind him or whatnot. But yeah, it's a pretty cool looking cover. It definitely. One thing that's neat about it, well, first of all, the album lyrically and thematically and whatnot is very occultish. So it's fitting this cover, and I do like the cover. It's pretty simple, but it looks cool. And the thing I like the most probably is what sets it apart is the way that their band name is designed up there. With this kind of a cover, this dark cover with this demonic looking thing, and even the name of the album, Enochian Keys, all that. Normally you see these just really extravagant, kind of hard to read band names or band logos that are kind of symmetrical and have all of these things going every which way, something like that. But no, it's this very almost delicate, like cursive there, like someone would signing like a important contract, or it just looks really, really cool. I actually just realized they're over on the side next to the S. It almost looks like it's like a partial like of a moon. It's like a sliver of a moon or something. I don't know. It's cool, but yeah. So that dynamic there between the cover and how these things typically are, and then you have more of a softer kind of approach with the band name, the way it's up there. It's intriguing, so it's kind of like, that's interesting. It looks a lot more kind of delicate, or just a lot more smooth or whatnot. It doesn't look as uh, dark, or just neat. Really, really neat. I really like that. So yeah, I dig the cover, and as far as it conveying what you could expect on the album, I think it does a good job. I really do. You look at this, and right off the rip, it kind of screams black metal, and you wouldn't be far off there, because there's a heavy black metal influence on here. But again, if you're just looking at it without the band name up there, you might just think this is just your typical black metal. But that conveys the way that the logo is, that there's something a little bit more to it. And that something a little bit more is this is symphonic metal with black metal influences. So, I don't think you would be shocked or disappointed by any stretch if you bought this based on the cover alone, never heard the album, never heard of the band. I don't think you'd be like, what is this sound that I'm hearing? I think you'd be good. So yeah, I dig it. It's really, really neat, the way that they did that contrast. Anywho, cool stuff. Enough about that. The cover, but so yeah, this bad boy has got 10 songs on there. Comes in at about 40 minutes, so decent amount of tracks, good length, and yeah, this. I've honestly never really heard something quite like this before. Really, really unique. I was pleasantly surprised when I started up the album. This is pretty cool. Because I do listen to black metal. I've listened to that for years, and black metal, folk metal, stuff like that, symphonic black metal, and this is more, I would say, symphonic metal with some heavy black metal influences. I wouldn't necessarily say it's symphonic black metal. for various reasons. So it's definitely more in the symphonic metal camp, but again, there's heavy influences of black metal, like tropes or, black metal style riffs or, just in the songwriting and just the nature of the sound. But first and foremost, it's really kind of like a symphonic metal, and this pairing, the way that they combine the two, and really kind of walk the line in between. Like I said, it's a little more on the symphonic metal side than just symphonic black metal, but they found this interesting balance in a space that I've never really heard before. So it's just really cool what they've done here with the sound. But with that being said, on the symphonic side, oh man, liberal use of strings, and I love that. It just works so well. A lot of good keyboard, some solid orchestration, some usage of choirs kind of in the background, things like that. The symphonic elements really add the flavor and the depth to the sound. So I'll talk about the depth of the sound here shortly. And on like the guitar front, you get your heavy guitars, thick and dark sounding tones on the guitars, which is awesome. You do get moments that have, you don't really get, I wouldn't say this is like a real solo heavy song, like guitar solos galore. You get some nice intricate stuff here and there and whatnot, but this isn't something where it's like, oh, you expect a solo around every corner. No, not like that. The songs are more built around kind of like ambiance and just like a hard-hitting power and less on, some just kind of like intricate guitar work and things like that. But heavy dark tone guitars for the most part, and it just sounds so great. Really earth-shattering stuff, and in conjunction with the bass is hitting really hard and heavy. And I'm not kidding you, when there's moments when it's just pounding, the guitar riffs are just hitting really hard and heavy. The symphonic elements are kind of adding that grandness, that bombast, and it feels almost earth-shattering at times. It's just really cool, the sound that they've created with everything. The drums, you definitely get some blast beat kind of stuff going on. You get your typical, kind of black metal styling of drum work. It's usually pretty speedy. The guitar riffs, a lot of times, sometimes it's more rhythm based, with like the guitar riffs, but then other times you get that real quick, tremolo or whatnot. I think that's what it's called, but just a real quick, kind of sound that's just really driving the song. Again, common in black metal, folk metal, stuff like that. And the drums kind of follow suit. Sometimes they're more just rhythmic, and other times it's just pounding, and the song is just driving forward. So you really get that interesting sway between the two. So more like melodic, rhythmic, methodical sound, and then it'll shift into, the more black metal side of it, and just really kind of take off. So it's a really cool dynamic, and it works well for the most part. I would say the transitions tend to be pretty smooth. Occasionally it may be a tiny bit jarring, but for the most part, these transitions between the two are pretty smooth. Typically, I would say that the chorus is where things are a little bit more melodic and methodical and rhythmic, and then it slams you with the quick pace, the quick beats, the quick, strumming and all that stuff, more akin to the black metal style, the driving force, in the verses and things like that. But the vocals, absolutely fantastic. Clean vocals for the most part. There's, some guttural vocals here and there, not too much, but she does a really great job. Really great, guttural sound, in my opinion. And there's moments where she kind of does like a spoken word, almost like chanting kind of like incantation kind of stuff. And, in one song, her like spoken word kind of turns into a more aggressive, like, like, shouting kind of, and just really, really great. She's got such nuance and such diversity in her vocals, because sometimes she'll be singing, you know, pretty heavy, with the music. And, a lot of times it's not like a shout singing, but, there's definitely a loudness to her voice, because the sound is just so grand and loud and whatnot. But then there's times where she'll go real high, like, kind of falsetto kind of range and this and that. And then other times, like I said, she'll kind of do like a spoken word, or she'll do like a guttural sound. She's just really, really great dynamic. But for the most part, I would say like 95% of the vocals is clean vocals. So I don't want anyone to think that it's just, oh man, it's just guttural vocals like nonstop. No. Yeah, so, the way the songs are arranged, musically, it very aggressive, but also very melodic. There's a real methodical approach to the songwriting, where it's driven in spots, but then it gets more melodic and symphonic in other spots, and even in times where it's just that real driven kind of, that real dirty kind of black metal sound. The symphonic elements kind of add a little something extra, and her voice also. I think that's where you find that this is a very unique sounding band and album, or that they've created, where it just doesn't quite sound like anything you've heard before, because it's not symphonic black metal, in my opinion. It's it's symphonic metal again with the heavy black metal influences, but it is just really cool how they've crafted the sound. It's dark. It's musically, it's not like a real bright sounding album. It's definitely very dark. It's very ominous, sinister at times. Again, just thematically and lyrically, because it's dealing heavily with like the occult and things like that, and with the black metal influences. So the symphonic elements are very dark. It's not like, oh man, like raise your hands in the air, we're going on an adventure, a journey kind of symphonic stuff. No, it's definitely orchestrated more for setting a dark, ominous, almost oppressive kind of sound. And it just goes really well with the guitars, the heaviness. And there's moments where it's just so cool, because it'll kind of be going, with the music, and it'll kind of drop off for a moment, and then bam, like hit you with these heavy riffs with the symphonic elements, like the strings kind of going in conjunction, and it just some real headbanging moments, and then it'll shift back up to kind of like a more melodic kind of sound. So really, really cool. Definitely a neat ride, a very interesting album. It starts out here, track one, the Purgatory, which just really kind of set in the mood. It's just an intro track. It sounds like she's doing some kind of incantations or something. It's got some, whimsically dark symphonic elements in the background, just kind of building up, just setting the tone, the mood, so you kind of, know what to expect. And as soon as track two, the Mark of the Goat, hits, I mean, it just hits hard, and off you go. It just hits you with that heavy guitar riff, that deep sound, that it's like cracking the earth beneath you, and the symphonic elements just really providing that atmosphere, that mood, that it just really, really cool. You can almost visualize this being played in a cathedral or something. It's dark outside, maybe thunder, lightning, rain, and the moon is out. The light from the moon maybe is shining through the windows, and you're just listening to this play. It just really conjures a really neat atmosphere, a really neat just what's the word I'm looking for? Feeling. It really, really cool. Um, then it goes to track 3. It's Alive, where you get a little bit of the guttural vocals in there, and the way that song starts out is very kind of melodic musically. One thing I will say, well, I did forget to mention the depth of the sound in this album. That is probably my highest praise for this album, aside from just how unique it sounds and how good of a job they did, with the songwriting and the arrangements and such. But the depth of the sound here is remarkable. The production quality is really, really good. The mix is pretty good too. I'll talk a little bit about that shortly, but the depth of the sound is immense. I would be sitting there listening to the headphones, and sometimes I would press it even against my ears to really even listen closely, and the sound is just so full and rich and deep. It almost sounds like it's coming through like a cavern, maybe. You're hearing it amplified, and the depth of the sound just travels all the way back. You can hear like the layers of everything, and it almost leads to kind of darkness, but the symphonic elements and everything, you just hear it all around you, and just this depth to it, which is just really, really cool, as if it's coming from beyond. It just goes deep, 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 back. You just hear the sound traveling all the way back, and again, a lot of that is because the guitar's in the forefront, and the symphonic elements are there as well. But it's just layered in such a way to where it just the sound just is so rich, and again, the depth of the sound is remarkable. So I was just really floored by that. But probably my favorite track 6, Infernal Flames. That one, the guitar riff kind of has a black folk metal kind of melody to it, a feel to it. And I'm a huge fan of folk metal, so I really, really got behind that one. Really, really cool song. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Again, the guitars just has such a awesome, hard-hitting, but really cool melody to them that, again, is reminiscent kind of a folk metal style riff. And yeah, I dig it. Track 7, Philosopher, Stone. Amazing job here with it's got the way the string, instrument or symphonic element is done here. It's so haunting and just and melodic, just the way that the placement of the string and the sound of the strings in this song is just, again, it's just haunting, almost chilling. And then there's a moment where it just, you get like, I think it's kind of like around like the bridge or whatnot, you get the strings going in conjunction with the guitar hitting just really, really hard. And it's just such a heavy, sick sounding moment that's just epic, absolutely epic. And that's the song too, where her spoken word kind of goes into more of like an angry kind of shouting, screaming kind of thing. Just, she does a phenomenal job vocally, just all throughout the album. And here is where I'll talk about a few of my nitpicks, or my critiques of the album, because for the most part, clearly I enjoyed this a lot. It really, really impressed me. I was quite blown away, honestly. A pleasant surprise with this album, and for the most part, I really, really enjoyed it. But I do feel like once it hits track 8 and 9 and 10, I start to lose a little bit of focus. I feel like it starts to sound a little bit like the same. Kind of like once it hits track 8, it's kind of like, okay, I've already heard this before. I feel like the diversity kind of falters a little bit. I feel like there could have been a little bit more done, to really make the album just feel a little bit more diverse, because again, most of the songs do, but by the time you reach track 8, I started to kind of be like, all right, this is kind of sounding very similar. So kind of started to lose a little bit of focus. And again, it's the same, just 8, 9, and 10. It kind of just feels not redundant, but just like it could have used a little something to spice it up a little bit more, to keep you engaged. And one thing I was thinking is there's not really a ballad here. I think maybe track 8 could have been a really great spot to put in just a really, really kind of dark, but like whimsically dark, an enchanting, haunting ballad, with like some organ playing, and just kind of slow it down a little bit, and give her vocals a chance to really kind of, take you through this hauntingly like beautiful ballad. I think that really, really would have been a great spot to drop something like that before closing out with the final 2 tracks, because it would have changed things up a little bit. It would have just really added that extra life into the album, because as it stands, the last few tracks, it just feels like you're kind of getting a little bit more of the same. So I think something like that really would have done wonders for the album. But track 10, it closes out the album pretty well. I would say the last quarter of the song really does. The bridge in that song is kind of like what I would be looking for in the sound of kind of like a ballad or something. The way that the bridge is, because it's just kind of symphonic, and it's kind of melancholic, and it's kind of cool. And then it gets really heavy again, and then it kind of, the last, I don't know, 40 seconds or something of the song, beautiful piano, and a little bit more of like kind of like the hushed, almost incantation kind of thing. So it winds out the album really well. The last quarter of that song, I would say, because the first 3/4, again, it just kind of sounds samey a little bit. But the tail end of it closes it out well. So yeah, that's really my biggest critique, is just that it could use something a little bit, just to inject a little bit extra more life into it. I feel like, this is their debut full-length album here, and I'm really impressed. And with a little bit more refinement, or whatnot, really, they could be something spectacular. They already are quite impressive. I'm very impressed. And I look very much forward to seeing what they continue to do as they progress as a band and all that stuff. And I think maybe moving just a little bit, even a little bit further to the symphonic metal side, would really do wonders, while retaining a heavy portion of the black metal vibes, of course, because this is kind of their signature sound, but shifting just a little bit more to the symphonic metal side, because a lot of the melodies, I would say, come from the music here. And I would have liked a little bit more of vocal melodies, especially like in the chorus, something like that. And again, just with the diversity, maybe add like a haunting ballad in there, towards the end, just to kind of keep things fresh, because it just gets a little bit more black metal, I would say, towards the end. And you kind of just start to feel like you've heard it before. So yeah, just a little bit more diversity in the sound. I think moving the pendulum just a little bit more to the symphonic metal side would kind of rectify that, give the vocal melodies a little bit more of a focus while maintaining the musical melody. But I think a little bit more vocal melody would really help as well. Yeah, that's really it. Just a little bit refinement, a little bit more diversity in the sound, and it really could be a force to be reckoned with here, because again, as it stands, fantastic album, fantastic sound. I'm incredibly impressed. Several of these songs I've already added to a playlist of mine, and I even added the album to my just albums playlist, because I just really enjoy it. It's really refreshing. sound, something like I said that I've never quite really heard before, which is really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, I just look absolutely incredibly forward to watching or in hearing this band progress, because this is just their first full-length album here, and they've already got such a cool sound. So they'll only get better with time, and I mean, I look very much forward to that. Like I said, they they are on the brink of just really becoming a force to be reckoned with. You know, a band that's quite special. And yeah, this is one heck of a debut here, and I really hope it gets the recognition it deserves. Clearly, I'm a fan. I dig it. If you ask me, you know, tell me one song to check out to see if I, you know, you want to hear the whole album or not, because you just want to give it one chance, one song, I would say go with No Candle to Ignite. I feel like that song really encapsulates the whole album the best. Like in just one song, you get the symphonic elements, you get the black metal elements, you get the wonderful vocals. It's a really, really great song. And yeah, I would say check out No Candle to Ignite. And I think that that'll give you a really great idea of what the whole album has to offer. And I think y'all would be impressed. You know, anyone who's symphonic metal fans, black metal fans, heavy metal fans, just metal in general, you know, there's a lot to like here. I do highly recommend you at least give the album a shot. And yeah, and let me know in the comments down below. If you've listened to this album already, what'd you think of it? Pretty cool stuff, huh? And just, yeah, let's talk about it in the comments down below. I'd actually listened to their debut EP, which released prior to this. So let me know if you've been following this band since their EP, even, because this is my first introduction, their first full-length album. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's talk about them. And yeah, that was Etwas with Enochian Keys, Chapter 1. I'm looking very much forward to Chapter 2, and I am going to be enjoying Chapter 1 as it is for some time, quite some time to come. So cool stuff here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Catch you all next time. Ranger.